Let's just get right the F into it.
All right,
Just
I
get
hit the
right into
record
the
button.
news.
We're
So
live
weird.
and we're recording. Hold the phone.
this?
We are in it. Let me actually full screen this
What's
again.
the swearing policy?
I don't care.
Okay.
Try to stay away from the hard stuff because I haven't marked my channel as for adults.
Oh,
so,
all right.
You know.
Well, I mean, I don't say like incriminating words.
Incriminating words? What does that mean?
I don't know.
I don't know if I want to know what that means. To be honest,
I don't know what it means either. But like, it's not. I'm not going
Also,
to jail.
you should open the podcast and your Twitch so that we get more viewers. That's how it works, right? That's how Twitch works.
That
You
is
just
how it works,
Bot your
yeah.
viewers.
Well, but it's not really botting because it's just you.
Well, yeah, because it's having it open so I can monitor it.
It's called networking, actually.
Yeah, it's called clever.
Twitch.tv/megamatch. If you're listening to the VOD, that's where you can catch the podcast.
Remember to check out our Patreon.
I do have a donation.
I don't. I haven't set that up because I've heard
Streamlabs sets it up for you.
Well,
You
yeah,
don't even do anything.
I know, but I've heard like I don't know, people can like screw with you.
If you set it up
Bad
without
ways.
On the
PayPal,
internet?
they can. But with PayPal, you have like chargeback protection and a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
It's generally fine. Oh, we have an update for Alex. Yeah. So, we have Alex.
There he
Okay,
is.
the crew's here.
Hey,
Alex, if
Hi.
you have a webcam, turn it on. We're gonna move this over here.
Now I'm gonna be the only guy without a webcam. Fun.
tough.
It's okay. Your little Dwight face will be there. All right. Oh, we're in it. We're live. We're
Dwight.
doing this.
The white TM.
There's no going back now.
Yeah, there is no going back now. I hope that's publicly acknowledged. And like, I'm looking down at my phone because I have to get the news articles up.
Let's get right into the news.
All right, let's get right into the news. Okay.
Excuse me, you
this
didn't
is.
say it nearly stupidly enough. Can you try
We've
that
been
again?
live for
Listen,
2
we're trying
minutes.
to avoid
You-
copyright
you-
strikes here.
You
kid.
gotta be as obnoxious about it as possible.
We have been live for 2 minutes
Roy.
and we have yet to do the intro. So I think
because we're
it's
just
about
getting
time
the game together.
we do the intro. This
Yeah.
is 001 Radio Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan, and I'm joined by 3 other dorks, 2 of whom are probably familiar. One of whom is familiar if you watched this channel like 2 years ago.
It was like the beginning of this year.
Deep
It
cuts.
was almost 2 years ago.
cuts.
It was a year ago.
Deep
It was
cuts.
almost
Yeah.
exactly a year ago, I think, actually.
Really?
All right, so
well,
we have Ben. He's above me.
that's
We have
me.
Alex, who is next to him, and then we have Wyatt, who you can't actually see because he's Dwight.
I'm not cool enough for a webcam, so
This is true.
Not bougie enough.
And you know what? That's okay. We appreciate anybody, webcam or otherwise.
We
And I
we
mean-
accept all kinds here.
It
I
just
think-
lets you focus. It just lets you focus on his voice.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
silky smooth,
Mm.
Silky
beautiful
smooth,
Mm.
radio
1080p
voice.
audio
I don't know
quality.
about 1080p. Is that possible? Can you do that?
I
Through
don't
a-
think that's how audio works.
through a
Well, on
crappy
YouTube,
headphone
on YouTube,
headphone
1080p
mic.
means
It does.
better bitrate. So
I do
It's
remember
kinda
it because
like-
people used to upload videos in 1440p because it was the highest audio quality.
yeah, now people do it in 4K.
Yeah. Although I think
Okay.
4K is probably the same audio quality as 1440. I
Might
think
be.
1440 is where the audio caps out. Although YouTube might have changed that, so the audio
I
is the
don't know.
same. I don't know.
Uh,
We're talking about things that we don't know about again.
We never do that. What are you talking about?
We always
Is that
do.
nor- I talk about people. I wait. No. Ooh, I talk about things I don't know about all the time.
Yeah, so for people that haven't seen this before, this is a Star Wars podcast. It's not actually a Star Wars podcast. It's just inevitably we're going to talk about Star Wars. And I know
think
we
the best
will because I
way-
have something to talk about. that involves
I think the
Star
best way
Wars.
the best way to describe it's a begrudgingly Star Wars podcast.
It's like 20% Star Wars, but more occasionally.
Star Wars just kind of slithers in the chat every now and then.
Yeah,
Like a
Star Wars
snake.
is our viewer right now. They're the chat.
Star
Um,
Wars.
Star Wars is chat. Okay, so we do a game at the start of every podcast. Wyatt and Alex, you two are familiar with this game. It's a news game. Ben, you have not done the news game before,
Okay,
so you're gonna get real familiar with the news game now. It's called
beautiful.
North or South Korea. Where'd it come from? Or what's it about? Because I'm not actually looking up. Look, North Korean news is pretty easily able to be identified as North Korean news.
Right.
So instead, I'm giving you some stuff, and I'm just not going to say the North or the South, and I want you to fill in the blank. Is it North or South Korea that's being talked about?
Okay.
You know what? We're going to start off with an easy one. This one doesn't count, because I hope you all would know this. Blank Korea State TV curiously scrubs Kim Jong-un emblem. Is that North?
Wait,
or
am I
South
answering
Korea?
this?
Alex,
Yes,
do you
you're
want to
You're
start?
all answering
Oh,
this.
oh. I
Alex, do you wanna
thought you were like, oh, this is a rhetorical question. I don't know what's going on.
I just asked it. It was a real question. I don't ask rhetorical questions. Nothing on this podcast is rhetorical.
That's fake. Fake news.
Fake news.
Is this fake news? That's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah,
Definitely fake news.
definitely fake news.
Is it North or South Korean? Will
It's
you
North-
give
it's
me the
North
answer?
Korean.
North Korean? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Yeah,
You know-
you're right. That was a give me.
Fun fact about North Korea. They just admitted the other day, I saw this on Reddit, that their first dictator man could not teleport.
Wait, he couldn't?
No, they admitted it.
After
came out and s-
after
yeah.
how many? Oh my god!
I don't believe it. That is personally very stunning to me.
Yeah.
You want to talk
So,
about
yeah.
fake news? Let
Yeah,
me tell
fake
you.
news.
Let me tell you. That right there.
Yeah, bullshit.
can't even.
He could teleport.
We have more. That was just the first
All right,
one.
Sorry, that just reminded me.
Oh, we're just getting started.
All right. We're gonna. This one's a little bit harder, I think. This is an article from the Guardian. It's could a Green New Deal turn blank Korea from climate villain to model? Which Korea is not good with
Could
its
you-
climate?
Could you read that again, please?
Both
Uh,
of them?
Could a Green New Deal turn blank Korea from climate villain to model?
I mean, we just shout it out here.
What do you think? Do you think this podcast has organization?
It's
We
got
don't
to
have a
be South
budget.
Korea, right? I mean, it's got to be.
We're so disorganized that we're
was South-
sometimes
is South
Star Wars
Korea,
podcasts.
was South Korea previously a climate villain?
Is
don't
North
know.
Korea a climate villain?
I don't know.
feel
That's
like
why I said kind of
probably.
both of them. Like, I feel like
Like-
it could apply to both. To be honest. Oh,
Oh, Alex, you've roboted.
Alex, that. Yeah. Oh,
He's
oh
alright.
dear.
He's chilling. He's vibing.
That's right. It might help if you lose the webcam. Actually, you probably turn the webcam off, and that might save you.
You can join me in the losers without webcams.
Hello, Wyatt.
That
Oh,
did
there we
fix
go.
it. That did fix it.
Ah, damn. All right.
All right.
Oh well.
What were you gonna say?
I don't think North Korea has enough.
Ye-
We don't have enough information. North Korea
No,
to
I
have it
mean,
be considered a climate villain.
right.
That's fair.
That's
I
fair.
also
that's
don't
fair.
think they have the infrastructure to
Yeah.
be considered a climate villain.
I mean, are we sure about that though?
It's
No.
a very, very
Is
small
your
amount of
answer South
people.
Korea? That's what I'm asking. Are
My
you
final
sure
answer.
about your
Boom.
final
Hit
answer?
the button.
Lock it in.
Bam.
Buzzard
Lock
in.
it in.
I have a bell somewhere. I don't know where we put it. I do have a bell,
All right,
but
good.
it's not
I'm
here.
glad you don't know where it is.
It's too much power. Okay, so yeah, you're right. That is South Korea. So final one. TV drama on Forbidden Love casts spotlight on blank Korean life.
I don't feel like North Korea would allow anything like
Yeah,
that
but think
to
about
air.
it. You can get a sick plot out of that one. You know,
Oh, you
like
get a
forbidden
ATV
love.
drama.
You know, I'm in love with a North Korean spy or something.
That sounds
But
like a
they said
TLC
ATV
show.
drama. They didn't
Yeah,
say
exactly.
who was filming it. They didn't say what country was filming it.
Yeah, I did not say that. This is not South Korean or North Korean news. It is news that I'm taking from Google headlines. In this case, it's NBC is reporting this. So
We always have to start with that disclaimer. that
I
we
did
don't
start
actually-
with that. That was the first thing I
Yeah.
said.
Apparently, I'm the only one who listens.
You weren't even here for that, but you knew.
Wait, listen to what? Okay, bad joke. Moving on.
I don't know.
Wyatt.
It's a TV drama about forbidden love, casting a spotlight on which Korea.
I think it's North Korea. Because, like, who cares?
I'll help you
About
out. I'll
South
read you
Korea,
the
you know?
first couple of sentences on this from this article. The series features all the ingredients a viewer could wish for: a beautiful heiress, a swooning soldier,
Oh, it's so
danger,
North Korea, dude.
forbidden love.
Dude, sign me up. That sounds awesome.
I'm going to suggest.
Oh, I can give you the title. This
Oh,
title's
please.
amazing.
Please do.
Crash Landing on You.
Oh,
Apparently it's on Netflix.
Oh
that's
my
so
God.
good.
I'm going to suggest probably a whole new TV series from this.
All right, is this about North or South Korea?
Why not both?
Why
Whoa.
not both?
Whoa.
That's huge.
That's my hope, actually. So, final answers.
North Korea.
North Korea.
Sure, North Korea.
North.
Okay, all three. You got it right, but I really hope this is about a South
about
Korean
both.
person
It has to be,
crash landing
right?
in North Korea. So then,
Yes,
therefore, it is
yes.
about both, right? It's like a Romeo and Juliet story.
I'm looking it up.
Oh, okay.
Capulets and Montagues, but
Crash
That's
landing.
exactly what I'm hoping
It
for.
is.
the other
It is.
one's a
Well, you know what? They could be Japanese or something, but they're not.
I think it
Hold
said, the article said it's a South Korean actor, which I
Yeah,
assume
so
makes sense.
it's-
I'm betting they don't have a North Korean actor. I would love to be proven wrong, but I doubt that is the case.
I think it's a South Korean drama though.
It probably is. South Korea. I know Korea and Japan have been doing a lot of like Netflix dramas recently. That's the news game done. We look at our stunning speed. It only took us 12 minutes to get through the intro in the
Are you
game.
telling me that I only have about, 50 minutes to talk about Mass Effect Andromeda?
All right, I've been asked,
Is
how
that
can a
what you're
match be
telling me?
mega? All right, chat. How can a match be mega? It's take a match and make it big. That's now a mega match.
Yeah. So it's like you're playing Connect 4, right? And you match all 4 of them in one turn, mega match.
There you go.
That's not how you play Connect 4, but
You're playing Bejeweled. You get a screen cascade.
Yeah.
That's a mega match.
boom.
also you could duct tape my limbs together and then light my hair on fire.
That is also a mega match. I see nothing wrong with that.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, I could
I
not
think
have said it better
it just-
myself
I mean, it's very loose
because I did say it. It was me who said it.
definition. So whatever you want, really.
Yeah. Okay. So now we have an actual podcast that we we do. We joke about it being a Star Wars podcast. It's not a Star Wars podcast, but in theme, in line with our previous episodes, we're starting with Star Wars. I recently learned. So Dave Filoni, who is super involved with Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian, all the Star Wars shows, may the Force be with you, yes, I learned he directed a bunch of Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Yeah, because he's
And-
talented.
He's a talented man. I didn't know this, and it blew my mind. I was like, wait a minute. Because someone literally made a joke about Dave Filoni being on
Not
Avatar.
talented.
And I was like, wait, what? I feel like I would have known this. And I was just an idiot. I didn't know it. But yeah, I learned that. It was really entertaining. It enlightened me.
Wow. Yeah.
That's
enlightening.
all. That's the Star Wars talk. We are going to have a Clone Wars talk whenever Wyatt is done with it.
I was watching about 3 episodes a day, and I haven't actually watched any in like a while. It's starting to slow down, definitely.
Man, you got to catch up because that.
Hey, I'm working, dude. There's just so much.
Dude, the
I have
final
to
4
get-
episodes of Clone Wars are maybe the best Star Wars thing to have come out in a very long time.
There's so much TV I gotta get through, and it's good, but like it's a tall order.
Yeah, it is a
You
tall
know?
order.
Right.
So, all right, that's a Star Wars talk. I think that's unless anyone else has Star Wars talk they want to get out of the way.
I don't even know what a Star War is, so like no.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably better off that way.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
probably the
yeah,
best.
for sure. For sure.
All right, that's our Star Wars talk. We're moving on to now the normal talk, which is how's your week been, everyone? How's it been going? What have you been doing?
Honestly, I don't even know what day it is most of the time. So I don't know. When did my week start? What's today? Saturday? It's been
Yeah.
I just been sitting here probably. I mowed the lawn. Got a little bit of a sunburn, but that's since gone away.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean that's It's been my week.
You got us. All right.
See, I just looked
Been
over at
playing a
chat,
lot of Total
and
War.
all I see is KISSING, and I'm like,
Yeah, let's go.
what's up,
kissing?
chat?
We have the best chat.
All right, all right, Alex.
Well,
how-
I mean,
you're not now, Wyatt.
oh.
You're back of the list. You are at the
Yeah.
bottom spot, which means you're last.
Oh,
All right,
boy.
moving on.
Alex, your turn.
Yeah, I think I'm a bit in the same boat. It's pretty much been a blur, except for the couple of projects that I've been working on that have helped me keep a sort of loose agenda. Like, oh, today is Monday. I guess it's a check-in.
Yeah, I've been doing something similar. Like I've started actually streaming. So I have a stream schedule now, which means I have reasons to get up in the morning at actual times, which is
Wow.
nice.
What is it like having real motivation in actual real life?
Well, it's more that like, so I'm also taking a summer course just because like, what else am I gonna do with this time? It's like might as well get ahead on my college degree. Except that summer course is proving to be a lot of work. So I
Right,
needed to have
so-
something else to make sure I wake up in the morning.
Like my question did not change. What is it like having actual real life motivation?
Dude, it's nice until the crushing weight of reality sets in and you realize that you may never get a job because the world is ending.
Yeah, the world already ended though. It's whatever. I'm over
Yeah.
it.
I will say
Ba-da-dun-dun-dun.
I'm over it.
okay. I will say
Now it's your turn, Wyatt.
well, speaking of being busy, my summer was supposed to be kind of busy, and then it just got completely board wiped. So I had nothing going on.
Yeah. I feel like a
And-
lot of people are in that situation.
Yeah. So I had to find things to I had to like go out and find ways to keep my summer busy with like work to do. Because I know that like doing nothing over the summer gets really old really, really fast. Because
Yeah.
I've been to that.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, that's why this
Speaking of-
podcast started.
Speaking of doing nothing, Mass Effect Andromeda. I want to talk about that for a while.
Yeah, well, I've been ready for this. I've been
All right.
waiting.
Okay, so I've been on a Mass Effect binge. I played the first one a little while ago, and then I was traveling abroad for an entire semester. And before I had left, I had started Mass Effect 2. And what I didn't know was that if you get the Steam version of the game, there's no cloud save support. So because I played it on my PC and I didn't take my PC with me, I basically couldn't play it unless I wanted to start over, which I didn't want to do.
Right.
So I just had to wait an entire semester to head back and actually finish it. And then I did. And then I played through 3, and then I was like, all right, Andromeda's like what, $3 on Origin right now? How bad could it possibly be? So yeah. That's been my past 3 days has been playing Andromeda. I have almost like 30 hours plugged in because I have a problem. But yeah, it's just interesting because like I'm coming in at it right fresh from Mass Effect 3, like no wait, and I definitely feel like people who love that series and have played it multiple times, and then this new game comes out and it's not what people wanted. I can understand why they'd be really pissed off with that, but at the same time, I'm playing it and I'm like, it's really not that bad. Like I've heard so much about it, and nothing good. And then when I
Alright.
started playing it, I was like, "This isn't that bad." Like,
I also want to point out we just got I don't know if this was officially announced or just heavily rumored, but there's like heavy rumors at least that Mass Effect is getting a trilogy remaster
Oh no way!
right after both Wyatt and I have started playing Mass Effect and gotten pretty far into it.
I
And I also want to point out, chat right now, we were talking about Mass Effect Andromeda, and good old chat mentioned Kevin Sorbo, who started a TV show called Andromeda. Chat's on the game today.
Keep it up, chat.
Who's
Has anyone
Kevin
else here
Sorbo?
played
Is he
Andromeda?
hot though? I want to know.
Not
He's
Andromeda.
not. No.
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 I don't think so.
So Ryan
I
actually
gotta
put it-
say that's not true. Actually, he
Ryan-
was back in his prime. Never mind. He's a good-looking dude.
Ryan put it best because I told him I was gonna start playing it before I actually like had it installed. And what he said to me was, it's a good enough game, but it's not a good Mass Effect game. And yeah, I kind of have to agree, to be honest. Because the interesting thing is, I think you can really split Mass Effect as a series down to 3 things: conversation, combat, and exploration. And I feel like that's kind of the big 3, like whether it's an RPG or not, because the other 2 games arguably aren't really RPGs in the traditional like sense. I
Yeah.
think they're more action games more
I
than
mean,
anything.
they have a lot of RPG elements, and I think RPGs are also now getting into that space where like the line between what an RPG is and what it isn't is very blurred.
Because like if you just take the term RPG, you could very much apply it to Mass Effect, but when people think of an RPG, they think of like stat grinding and stuff like that. And 2 and 3 really don't have a lot of that. Like there's a lot of stuff going on in the background, but it doesn't really matter. And you don't have to, I mean, it gives you the ability to just auto level up everyone. And like you can do it individually, but they're just like, just hit a button and it'll auto level up everyone. It's fine. Like don't even worry about
Yeah.
it, because that's how little it matters.
I mean, you
really.
had that option in the other games as well. Although I
Oh
don't.
yeah.
Could you
Yeah.
do it for yourself in Mass Effect 1?
I don't remember if you. I know you can do it in Andromeda.
I know you
don't
could
know
do
about
it to
the
your
other
party
ones.
members in Mass Effect 1. I don't know if you could do it to
Yeah.
yourself.
But that's kind of what I'm saying, is that it's like they just give you the ability to like let you auto level up everyone, and it just makes it feel like the RPG part of it isn't that important if it's just
Yeah.
they give you the ability to just not think about it. But so the thing is that you kind of break this series down into these 3 parts. The first part, dialogue, all 3 games have nailed, honestly. Like writing is great. These characters are really likable.
Yeah,
and
I think
interesting.
especially like the
story's
party
great.
dialogue is excellent in all 3
Yeah.
games.
Especially 2, because like 90% of 2 is just doing loyalty missions and meeting new characters. Like
Yeah.
that was its laser focus. And then they got rid of loyalty missions in 3, which I'll get back to in a second. And then the other thing is combat started off not very good, in my opinion. It was like somewhat passable, but not great. And then over the other 2 games, it got better, but they mapped like 5 or 6 different things to the spacebar, and that infuriates me. And it was really stupid.
That's the same problem I have with 2. Like I recently playing through 2, luckily I wasn't super far into it, and I think I am just gonna wait for the remastered stuff to come out because 2's controls on PC are just not good. Like the sensitivity is locked so high, and there's no way to turn it down. Like I have to set my mouse DPI to 200 to be able to play it.
See, I was in the fortunate enough position where I have a DPI button on my mouse, so I just set it to the lowest.
That's what I was. Yeah, that's what I did. Is I set it to the lowest, but the lowest setting was like in the settings 200. Normally I do things at like 1,000 to 800.
Yeah, I think mine's like typically mine's like 1,600 or something like that. But and I got used to it after a while. And 3's combat got a lot better.
Yeah,
so
and like 3 and Andromeda are fine.
Yeah. So it got better, and then the biggest hurdle they've always had is exploration, where they've never been able to nail it down. And I'm just talking about the trilogy. We'll get to Andromeda in a second. But the trilogy, in terms of like exploration, they've never been able to just like nail it yet. Like you had the Mako, which was just a piece of styrofoam on wheels, and it was hilarious.
Look, I had fun with the Mako though.
Oh, the Mako, it's so much
It's so
fun. But when
goofy.
you look at it, it's like taking the Mass Effect Andromeda facial animation debacle and then just applying it to this vehicle. That's the level of like hilarious fail that you get there.
The best way that I've heard it described is moon shoes on a tank.
Absolutely.
Well, it just feels like styrofoam. Like that's what it feels like. You put thrusters and these like big ass wheels on a piece of styrofoam, and that's what it felt like. And the second game got rid of the other 2 games got rid of the Mako. Although the second game there was like some vehicle controls or something like that. I forget.
There was. I don't remember what it was. I think it was just when you were on like a planet.
They weren't very good.
And the chat brings up hover tanks are the answer because then they can feel like styrofoam and it doesn't bother people.
Exactly. That's.
But the Mako had wheels.
Right.
Just mod them out.
The second game you had that goddamn probing mini game where you had to like mine all the planets and stuff like that.
See,
I'll be honest.
I think I'm a horrible person because I enjoyed
it. Well, here's the thing. I didn't mind it at first either because it's very thematic and it kind of fits with that like.
Yeah.
Here's the problem though, and this is my fault. The way I finished Mass Effect 2 was the most messed up, just fucked experience I've ever had playing a video game, and it's almost entirely my fault. I've talked about this with Ryan
Yeah, it's a good
and
story.
Alex, but
Oh boy.
there's a in every Mass Effect game there's a point of no return where you do a certain story mission and then you're kind of locked into the finale and you can't do much outside of that. In Mass Effect 2, you pick up an object, and then after a while, if you land on any planet, Joker, your pilot, is like, "Hey, we got this thing installed. We can like go attack the people now." And then your entire crew, you're like all of your companions go on an away ship, and they're away for a bit, and then your ship is attacked, so your crew is taken, and then you're basically locked into doing the final mission. The problem is, I was an idiot and didn't upgrade anything, which means that when I went on the final mission, things happen. I don't know if I want to spoil it or not.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
okay. At this point, we can put up the spoiler warning and be like, the next couple sentences are gonna be minor spoilers. I don't think we should like directly say the situation, but
maybe put up like a time code when we record this and put it on YouTube of like where.
that'll be in the VOD.
Hey,
Whoa,
hey.
did he
That's
just
the worst
dab?
thing I've ever done.
Oh
I'm
my-
so sorry.
Hey, whoa. Did we just...
all
I
right,
thought it
that's
was
it. Podcast
2020
over. We're
by
ending
then.
it. We're ending
Podcast
the
canceled.
Canceled. It's no longer a Star Wars podcast.
Hope you can feel my
Dab
disapproval.
cast.
We're now a Star Trek podcast.
So yeah, okay. Spoiler warning. Spoilers. Basically, if you did what I did and you don't upgrade a single thing, everyone dies. Like
It was also
literally
you missed 2 party members that
I
I
missed-
still
yes.
don't understand how.
I'm bad at video games. That is the answer. But I missed 2 party members, and if you don't upgrade your ship and your tech or anything, everyone dies. So the only people, if you're up to date on who all these people are, the only people I had survive at the end were Tali and Grunt and myself. That's it.
Out of
I
like
swear
8 party
to God.
members, there's a lot of party members in Mass Effect 2.
Yeah. And almost all of them died. So the best part is I went back and I was like, okay, that ending mentally traumatized me because all these people that I've grown to love over the course of the game are now died horribly and their bodies are drifting in space, never to be talked to again. So
You
I
said
went
something
back-
about them turning into paste.
oh yeah, so there's this whole other thing.
You forgot
if
this
the
part
rest-
where they
Part.
just turned into paste.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So
no.
if,
Well, this
Your-
is
so
the
your crew-
traumatizing part.
yeah, well, I would say the more traumatizing part is the people you actually talk to a lot over the game just dying. Like
Yeah,
out
but
of
the paste
nowhere.
comes out of nowhere like that.
It took me by surprise. But yeah, so your other crew members, the people you don't talk to that just kind of walk around the ship, if you don't get to them quick enough, if you don't like get over to the last mission soon enough, you walk over and they basically are in tubes and they're turned into paste, and it's fucking horrific and it's terrifying.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's like a horror movie out of nowhere, or like some sci-fi Saw movie. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Sci-fi.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also
So-
just got a chat message. Do we like Cowboy Bebop? At least Ben and I do. I don't know about
Oh,
anyone.
boy.
yeah.
I
Oh
don't
yeah, definitely.
I don't
Cowboy
watch
Bebop.
anime. Nothing wrong with anime. It's not my
Listen to me.
thing.
Look, it's the dichotomy
Cowboy
of you two. We have Wyatt who doesn't like anything anime, and then Ben has the Moogie sweatshirt
Well, that's not fair. That's
behind
not
him.
fair.
Koibo Boba
Castlevania is fun.
is incredible.
I like.
No, I mean, like, I think Cowboy Bebop's one of those shows that you would like, even if you don't like
For me,
anime.
It,
For
it's
me,
like
it's the kind
Firefly.
of thing-
It's a Firefly vibe.
it's the kind of thing. The problem I have is that it's very sensory overload sometimes, where there's so much like yelling. I feel like an old person whenever I watch anime because there's so much like
Right.
yelling
But-
and people are just constantly talking.
You're
and it's
watching
just-
bad stuff. That's why.
Yeah, I don't know what you're.
Stuff
I
you
don't know
watch
what
is
you're-
bad.
What you're
Well,
watching.
I have a friend who's very much into anime. He's literally like the president of the anime club that he goes to a college.
What did he have?
Tried
What was the thing you watched?
I watched 2 episodes of Fooly Cooly, and I wanted to.
Oh,
just
because that
off
show is
myself.
whack, dude.
Yeah, that show is
I-
not.
That show is known
Normal.
for being whack. I
I'm
love
not
it,
kidding.
but
I'm not
that's
kidding
my
when I tell
opinion.
you I had a headache at the end of the first episode. Like legitimately, I had a pounding headache, and I needed to like, take a break.
I mean, that kind of sounds like a you problem.
Oh
That does
no, it
sound like a
totally
problem.
is. It's
I-
it's a style
I
that's not
vaguely
for.
remember you telling me that one of the first things you watched
That's
was
also not
Devilman
normal.
Crybaby.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
my
same
God.
friend. That's the show.
Can't be the
It's just-
first thing you
See,
watch.
That show was, like,
it's people like that
traumatizing.
who try to get other people into anime that give it a bad name. They're like, all right, let's go watch fucking High School DxD. It's a great first anime, and then they see just huge bunch of titties and stuff, and people are like,
You should watch Boku no Pico.
yeah, it's like, no, fuck off.
But then
I'm trying
the actual shows that I do watch that at least I assume are anime. People are like, "Oh, it's not real anime, so it doesn't count." It's like,
Like
when
what?
They're stupid.
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
stupid.
And and
Oh.
Those people
Castlevania.
are stupid.
Is Castlevania
Castlevania.
not? How the-
Castlevania was because people are dumb. All right, everybody's like an elitist about it. It's like it looks
It's animation.
Like an anime.
It's the same thing. It doesn't matter. They're
It's
from different
clearly
places. That's the
inspired
only
by
difference.
The anime. Like, who
And
cares?
there are like Japanese showrunners as part of that show, right? Like, it's not an American. It's
Well,
not like a solely American. produced
Avatar,
show.
I'm pretty sure is.
Avatar is
American.
pretty-
That is.
I
That
think
is, but
Korra
not Castlevania.
Had some.
No, Castlevania, I think, was created in part by some kind of Japanese studio. I don't know exactly the production, but
Let's look up
Well-
Castlevania animators.
Well, anyway, back to what I was
All right,
saying.
the first thing that pops up when I search Castlevania is Castlevania anime. It's an anime.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
done.
fair.
Boom.
That's
Case
Boom.
closed. Google knows.
But
Anyway,
we're-
it's irrelevant.
yeah. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I was talking about Mass Effect's 2 ending and how I messed it up.
Paste.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
paste.
all
We were
your
talking about the
people turned
paste.
into paste. But see, even that was a sidetrack from what I was talking about. Anyway, played the Mass Effect trilogy. The biggest takeaway from those games is that you have these 3 sections: dialogue, which they've always nailed; combat, which got better; and exploration, which just never ever was good. The weird thing about Andromeda is that it has the same 3 pillars. It has dialogue, combat, and exploration. The thing is, Andromeda is really good at the other 2. It's really good at combat, and exploration is not bad either. It's dialogue where they really screw things up a lot. Because the big thing about Mass Effect was its dialogue system is really interesting because it's frustratingly binary at times. It's either you're a good guy or you're a dick. And
Yeah.
that's it. And there's no in between. But what that still did was that it there were so many
It gave you
like
choices
crazy, there were so many crazy like world changing
and meaningful choices
decisions.
too.
Yeah, like you could decide the fate of entire characters or entire races just by that binary dialogue system. And the problem with Andromedas is that they actually they went about it in a way that I agree with, which is they want to make it more nuanced and give you different ways to approach something that isn't just binary. And I respect that approach a lot. The problem is that none of your choices matter at all. Because at the end of the day, it's just how Paragon do you want to be, or how much of a good person do you want to be. It's never, oh, I'm going to be a complete asshole to everyone. They never give you that option. You're always a good guy. It's just how good you
much
are.
of a good guy you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your decisions don't matter. Like there was one point where I was getting these people off of a ship and I had to decide, oh, do you want to save this race or this race? And I was like, okay, here's like the first point where there's an actual meaningful decision, and this is kind of interesting, but it's literally your choice is brought up in one line of dialogue, and that's it. It's
Yeah.
never ever referred to again, and it has no lasting effects whatsoever.
Like, I think this also leads into some interesting stuff with like if you're talking about a game and how what kind of impact does a branching narrative actually have on your enjoyment? Because like recently I played through Final Fantasy VII Remake, which isn't a branching narrative. Like you have choices and they'll have minor effects, but the overall story plays out the same way regardless. And to me that didn't bother me at all, even though there were like choices. The choices didn't really matter. But that didn't bother me because they're telling like a really, really good story, whereas with Andromeda, you're doing it in a series that is so well known for having branching narratives, and then you take that away, and it's like something is missing from the core of the game.
And I would almost be okay with it if the writing, story, and characters were as good as the other games too, and they're just not. Like the writing sometimes is kind of funny and kind of clever at times, but a lot of times it's really stupid. I'm not kidding you. There's a line of dialogue near the beginning of the game which sets the tone for the writing of the rest of the game. you're fighting a bunch of enemies, and then one of your teammates just says, "I think I really pissed that guy off. Maybe it's because I shot him in the face." As an actual line of
Oh.
It's
dialogue.
like that sounds like something I'd see in a bad JRPG.
Yeah,
like-
it's really, and the worst part is, like, I
Or a
would
good
say,
one.
like,
or a good
a
one.
majority of the dialogue isn't even bad. It's like perfectly serviceable, but it's just not. It's not bad, but it's not good. It's just like functional and serviceable. The problem is that you have a lot of voice actors who are just delivering them in such a weird, like the main character, like 'cause I'm playing the male writer, right? And there's just something about his cadence and his inflections that just
Yeah.
these like these the dialogue just comes across so
The female
weird.
writer isn't much better. I tried both of them way back when I played this game, and they're both pretty similar.
Yeah, it's unnatural, and it's like you can have a good script and you can have actors that completely ruin it because their cadence is off, and you can have the exact opposite problem where you have great voice actors, or you have
I
great
found
actors and the script gives them nothing to work with.
I found the same sort of thing in Assassin's Creed Odyssey
Yeah.
when I was playing. I tried both the characters, and oh my god, Alexios is
Oh, he's terrible.
Alexios is rough. It's really
Yep.
rough. Whereas what's the girl's canon
Cassandra.
name? Cassandra. Yeah, she's at least like very good in a lot of scenes and
Better?
okay in others, but I thought she was pretty good overall.
No, and it really the interesting thing is too is that while the story and characters and writing isn't good for a Mass Effect game, if you're comparing this, because a lot of people say, oh, they just took Mass Effect and made it this like big Ubisoft style open world game, and I'm like,
Yeah.
here's the thing, for an Ubisoft, if you're comparing it directly with those, this has much better characters and stories than those.
What do you
games
mean?
do.
Assassin's Creed is the shit.
Like, I love Watch Dogs 2, but I'm never going to tell you that the storytelling in Watch Dogs 2 is good, because it's not.
I mean, the
It's
storytelling is like
very-
the worst part of Watch Dogs 2, but the rest of it's very good.
Yeah, and
Okay,
even the
Watch Dogs
characters
3
are
though.
and even the characters are charming and they're kind of likable, but there's no depth to them whatsoever. Whereas
Yeah.
even though Andromeda's characters don't compare at all to the original trilogy's characters, you still spend so much time with them just from the fact that it's still a BioWare game and you're still talking with these people a lot, that you get to know them a lot more.
Yeah.
And so there's still a base level of like, okay, I know a lot about these people, and you still care about them. Not nearly as much as you do the older games, but just because it's a BioWare game and you're still spending so much time with these characters, you're still learning much more about them. And so it's like, if you're comparing it to a typical Ubisoft story, it's pretty good. But if you're comparing it to a Mass Effect story, it's pretty bad. Like it's
Yeah.
it's stuck in this weird kind of in between.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I also do want to mention why you've received a compliment from chat. They're comparing you to Bo Burnham.
But
Like
Aw.
I assume in the
Huh.
voice way.
You know
Or
what? I
maybe
would
they
take that as
just
a
think they're that
compliment
funny.
regardless.
I don't know.
I like Bo Burnham. So
Most people do.
Bo's a good
Wow.
guy.
thanks.
I actually don't
thank you
know
very
him, but-
much. He's a comedian.
Really, you don't know Bo
No, I mean
Burnham?
I know who he is, but I
Oh,
don't know him. So like I couldn't speak to his character or anything like that. Yeah, that's why I said
We can't be his character witnesses in court.
right, exactly. And then that's important because sometimes that can win cases, except it's not supposed to.
But
But-
does it
but-
help the holocrons open to reveal the secret of the Reapers?
No, we're not. Oh, joke. I thought we were gonna go
See,
back
it
to
was a
Star Wars.
segue back to Mass Effect from in our classic Star Wars fashion.
It's frustrating too, because again, I really appreciate their attempt to make a dialogue system that's more nuanced than just good guy and bad guy, but they ended up with a system where none of your decisions really matter that much.
Yeah.
And I think where the dialogue, you start to see where what they were trying to do is so my romance option was PB, right? And they give you the option, because again, it's all about trying to give you more expression and more options, even though it doesn't turn out that way. There's an option for PB where you can your relationship can be something more casual than like an actual romantic option.
Yeah.
And that was something from what I remember, I don't think they really offered that in the other games. And I was like, okay, if they
You
had
kind of get it. So if you romance Kelly, you sort of get that.
right, but Kelly wasn't like it was more of like a one and done kind of thing,
Yeah.
and then they just kind of move on. She's not like one of the primary like romance options in the game, whereas here PB definitely is. And the option that they give you to like, oh, this can be something casual or something more serious is interesting because it's something they haven't really done with like romance before. And that right there, you start to see how a more nuanced dialogue system kind of affects the gameplay or affects the story more. And I just wish stuff like that was more apparent through the game because I think it would actually be a much better. What they're
Yeah.
trying to do is a much better dialogue system than what they had previously, but it just didn't work out that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I also think like for me personally, I remember the big moment. So that they did like an open beta or an Origin Premiere access trial thing before the game released for like I think you could play it for like 10 hours or 8 hours or something, and you got to just play the game, and then you didn't have to buy it, and then you could choose if you wanted to buy it or not. I remember the thing that cemented me from not buying it as I got to the first companion, who's the Asari girl. I don't remember her name.
PB?
Yeah, okay, that's what thought that was her.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure. But like her introduction was stilted and just her dialogue was weird.
It was
It played
weird.
off as like
Yeah.
super stereotypical like mechanic girl, which is just not
Sure.
the kind of thing I expect to see in a Mass Effect game. Like I generally would expect to see more writing that is not so like stereotypy. And
You're
I'm
talking
sure
about
like over the
Parvati?
course of the game she gets better. What was that, Alex?
Were you talking about Parvati?
I like Parvati.
Look,
Don't even.
Parvati's Outer Worlds has the excuse of being like a AA game and not really a AAA game.
And I think what made Parvati such a fun character for me was her like her
Parvati.
naivety, right? It's just like her
Naivety.
wide-eyed like excitement about the fact that she's off planet.
I
I don't
know.
know. It was very
I'm
endearing in
so
a lot of
salty about the guilt trip she gives you.
Right.
It's a good video game tactic.
What I will say, I think the reason like PB became my romance option was because I think a lot of her jokes land a lot later in the game. Like little there's a great little bit later on where if your two companions that you go out with on missions is PB and Jal, there's this great moment where they always have like little bits of dialogue going if you're in the Nomad, right? Which for
Yeah.
those of you who don't know is basically the Mako, but it actually controls good. Um, there's a little bit where like it's a reoccurring thing where just random dialogue will happen like if you're just driving around, and there's this reoccurring thing where Jal's like sleeping in the car while you guys are driving and PB's just frustrated and like making fun of him, and it all culminates in a thing where she tries to like she tries to pretend that like the main character and PB are like making out to see if he's like asleep or not, and then he wakes up and he's like, "Oh, I'll give you 2 a minute," and she's like, "Ha! Like I knew you were faking it." And I'm not doing it any justice here, but it was actually really funny because it just kind of came out of nowhere, and it was like this whole like separate dialogue thing. I don't know, it gets better, and she's definitely more likable than a lot of the other characters.
Yeah.
Like she actually shows personality, and even if it's not like super original, it's more she stands out more because she has more charisma than someone like Liam, who just
Yeah. It's also I think like a lot of Mass Effect 2 and 3 have the benefit of building on something that was already a really good base point.
Mhm.
Whereas Andromeda has to do basically they want something the quality of Mass Effect 3 but with none of the build up.
Mm.
So you can't like gradually get attached to characters like Joker and the rest of the crew. So you don't have the benefit of like growing as a player like to like these characters over a long course of time. You're stuck with them in one game.
and because of how the game turned out, I don't know if well actually no, I think it's been confirmed that there is another Mass Effect game.
It was definitely mentioned at some point that something was in development. I think that was kind of not really confirmed. It was just hinted at. And even then we don't really know when we'll be seeing more or if we'll be seeing more.
And I want to, because I think that they have a really good base in terms of they have a really good foundation for another trilogy of games. Because I think there's
Yeah.
a lot of interesting things that they set up. The fact that it's in a new galaxy is interesting. And I think the gameplay is a really good start.
I think
know,
the biggest thing
combat-
that would concern me with a new trilogy is that they're launching, and I feel like a lot of the people that like Mass Effect maybe have the adverse reaction to Andromeda. They really don't like it. So what would worry me about them making a trilogy of Andromeda characters is I don't think it would sell well, based purely on like the public opinion of what Andromeda 1 was like.
But I mean, if you have a whole other game to like further character development, you can make them interesting.
Yeah, but if people gave up on playing Andromeda 1, and then they're missing context for the rest of the story. Like
Well,
I don't know how Andromeda ends, so I don't know if the trilogy would require playing the first one to really get into.
But how much of that is on BioWare and how much of it is on them for not? Because it's like watching Return of the Jedi before watching the other two, because the other two
Right.
didn't interest you. And then it's like, well, that's on you for not knowing what's going on.
Yeah, but that's also like, why
What
would
if-
you?
what if
keep
A New Hope was really
a
bad?
bad game. Yeah, like what if the first movie was just garbage? Like nobody would watch the second two because they're like, oh, I didn't feel like suffering through
guess.
garbage.
But I don't know if Andromeda, if the story or characters is really that bad to like.
Yeah, but
It's a
I'm
bigger
sure it is for
investment
some
than a
people.
movie, though. Like Andromeda is like a 30 to 40 or to 50-hour game, right?
Something like that.
So
I heard
you're
you could-
asking a decent amount of someone to play through that entire thing in preparation for a new game.
What I'm saying is that I don't hate Andromeda as much as other people do, and I feel like I have to defend it. That's the main point.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, thinking of it from more of a
Sure.
practical, like business standpoint, like they're not gonna put more eggs into the basket that's trash.
Yeah.
At the
Oh,
same
yeah.
time, like I
Bottom
feel
up.
like another Mass Effect game would probably sell well because the name
Yeah,
still
I just
carries
think they
a lot
gotta.
of weight.
I think they just gotta make a new one. Like I don't think
Dude, give me a Mass
continuing
Effect
on
game
with
starring
Andromeda
Garrus and
trilogy.
just have him like doing
Because-
whatever he does after Mass
Oh,
Effect 3
dude.
ends. I would play
coming
that.
from
Oh,
my
Yes.
point of view
Oh,
as a
yeah.
person who's never played Mass Effect, like all the bad press Andromeda got certainly is not making me want to play anything else with the name Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah.
I mean that's fair. And I think a lot of it is Andromeda was hyped to like.
Yeah,
it
because it
was,
was like, new
well, yeah,
Mass
because like Mass Effect is a great trilogy and it means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I really feel like the backlash that it got was because of all the hype that it drummed up. And
Yeah, they
obviously
pushed
blame that-
Andromeda really hard.
you can blame that on publisher and developer. That's fair, but I think there's a certain point where it's like I really don't think this game is nearly as bad as people say it is, and I think the hype has a lot to do
Yeah.
with that.
And I think that
'Cause it-
part of that is also like Andromeda was worse on launch. They
Right, I mean,
patched
it's
in a
better-
bunch of
it's
animation
better
fixes.
now, right? So
I mean, post patch, as I've been playing it, it's still pretty jank.
Yeah, so like imagine what
But-
it would be like without those patches.
Oh, sure, but in a weird way, at least personally, I got used to it after a while.
Yeah.
I definitely like your eyes adjust to it, and then it's like, okay, I guess that looks normal.
it's like kids shows.
Yeah, it's
You
like
know,
kid show. It's like
I
Star
got
Wars
no,
Rebels.
Seriously, I got a
Rest of
Snapchat
Star
earlier
Wars.
today of some like kid show that was on, and I was like, Jesus, that doesn't look like. They look so bad. Like the 3D models of the characters and the animations are just horrible. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't remember kid shows looking that bad. But now look up JJ the Jet Plane for me. Real
It's
quick.
bad. It's
Oh,
bad.
yeah.
It's really bad.
Oh.
And like I watched this show and was cool with it when I was a kid. But he's like, it's like a nightmare. It's nightmare fuel. This is horrible.
Dude, I still love the like 3D Thomas the Tank Engine renders.
Okay, but Thomas the Tank Engine, that's the thing, is they use like toys or whatever. Like it wasn't even offensive.
Yeah.
Not claymation, stop motion, I believe, for some of the.
Some of the older ones anyway. The new ones look like they're made out of real nightmare fuel CGI, but the old
Tom
ones
Tank
certainly.
Engine, a true nightmare.
Oh, it's also like
Yeah, no, seriously.
I think it's weird. So this is tangential Star Wars. Clone Wars looks iffy, but I think it looks better than Rebels, which looks like a kid show. Like Rebels looks like a kid show in the
Does.
way that kid shows look like kid shows.
Season
really-
1 looks a bit funky,
I
but
think
like,
Clone Wars.
or like the
avoid
first
that.
part of it of Clone Wars looks funky.
Yeah, it gets better as time goes on because I think they realized that their audience was not primarily children. Like I think Clone Wars' audience grew up with
Yeah.
the show.
There's also something to be said for a TV show, like especially if it's aimed at younger kids. I think there's something to be said for a show that matures with its audience.
Absolutely. Like Avatar did that,
Something-
and that's Avatar is like one of the most beloved shows.
Avatar did that. Harry Potter did the same thing. Where,
Yeah.
like the movies just get really
Harry Potter is a
dark.
great example.
It gets depressing.
Well, I
Like if you
mean-
watch the first movie, Harry Potter is like it's a fun kids film.
Yeah, and,
And
then,
then it
you get
gets
to the last
dark.
movie, and it's just it's a war, and there's people dying and people getting like tortured with knives and stuff. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, and to be fair, the books are the same way.
Right.
They get
I was gonna say that.
gradually a lot darker.
That makes sense because they were probably written up with their audience the same way.
Yeah, and there was
I-
more time between the books than the movies as
Exactly.
well.
Yeah, and it creates. I think it creates a. Not in every case, but I think it makes a more interesting narrative when you have like a long running series of something, and especially when they start as kids and you see them mature and get older.
I mean, I think that exists in like every
I mean, you know,
decent stories. You get like a little snippet of things that's calm, and then shit hits the fan, and then it
Yeah.
screws up the norm. Like that's we
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
talked about
but a lot
that
of the time
in the
they're-
heroes and the heroines class. It was beautiful.
dude, I
The
missed that
hero's
class so
journey.
much. That was such a fun class. I had the Star
Michael
Wars.
Bublé.
Look,
The
this
hero's journey.
podcast is our hero's journey. Let me tell you.
Yeah, like before coronavirus, that was the whatever it's called. I
That
don't
was the
know.
norm.
Yeah, that was the first part, and now we're at
Coronavirus
the
was the
We
Power
passed
on
through
the
the
internet.
inciting
threshold.
incident.
We-
the
we
inciting
did.
incident.
the threshold was me getting off the boat into New York and coming home.
Carrying the coronavirus.
You're carrying the
Alex
coronavirus.
and I are the Sage character.
Oh no,
then.
we said the
Right.
C word. We're gonna get demonetized on YouTube.
Is
Click
that how that
on
works?
the donation button below.
Is that how that works? Do we get demonetized?
I think so. I keep hearing people like avoiding.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
can't
think it's
say it.
actually corona. I think it's saying the other name. I don't know why
the,
I'm not
the
dodging.
real name?
Yeah, COVID-19. There's no point in dodging. We're not
Ryan,
allowed to.
Ryan, whoa, hey, calm down.
We weren't making money anyway.
Ryan, you're not allowed
Relax.
to say that. This is a good Christian stream. You're not allowed to say that.
Stream. Like I gotta have a Bible in here somewhere. I could just whip out and throw at the screen. Nope, just a keyblade. Okay.
Yeah, I hate it when I just fucking see my Keyblade where my whatever you said first is.
Look, are you excited for Palpatine and his 13 clones to rebuild Kingdom Hearts? That's the plot of Star Wars.
You mean Norda boy?
No, Palpatine and his 13 clones
What?
are gonna open the
What
door to
The
Kingdom
heck
Hearts
did you
and
just say?
unleash the Sith Eternal. I don't know. Is that
I
how Star
believe
Wars
it.
Wow,
works?
Wait,
That's a
but it's
brain-
over. Star Wars is over, isn't it?
No, Star Wars is going.
Star Wars is
never
canceled.
over.
There's
Star Wars
probably
is
The
no
movies
trilogy
might be
coming.
canceled, but the TV shows are doing great.
So Sheev Palpatine is gonna open the gate to Kingdom Hearts.
Dude, I
Mickey Mouse
thought-
is gonna come in.
For the
And beat
longest
him up.
time, I thought Sheev was not his name. I was like, Sheev has got to be like some weird joke that someone made up, right? No, Sheev Palpatine
No,
is his
no,
real
it's
name.
Sheev
Yeah,
Palpatine.
they have to take the ring to Hogsmeade.
The ring to
Yeah,
Hogsmeade. I think you
Where-
don't even pick like a
where they'll-
threatening location from Harry Potter.
where
You
they're
pick
gonna, where they're
Hogsmeade.
gonna,
Of course not.
where they're
course
gonna
not.
ride Roach to fight the
To fight the
vermin-
Reapers.
no the Vermintide.
No, they're gonna ride Roach, go to the mountain with the horses. The what do they call it? The Brokeback Mountain, and then they're gonna.
No, they don't call it Brokeback Mountain.
Gyllenhaal?
Look, that's what horse boys do.
Go to Brokeback Mountain with
They're just-
Mysterio.
They're just
Exactly.
horsing around. They're just horsing around. I was
Yeah.
able to get BoJack Horseman in there. Look at me go,
Of course.
I love BoJack.
dude.
I don't actually. I haven't watched it once.
That
I
show
don't-
is so good.
I need to
It's
watch
like
it.
I haven't.
it's right up there with like.
I need to watch a lot of stuff.
It's right up there with like Stranger Things and like Sex Ed as some of the
yeah, I need to
best
watch that.
Netflix shows. It's
Yeah.
so good. It's so
Dude,
good.
my door just opened because I have
I
a
saw that.
sign on my door that says when I am doing things.
Yeah,
The door just peeked open.
I know. I saw that.
He sees the ring light and walks out. It's immortalized now.
Oh well. This is what it
We
means
broke the
to
fourth
live
wall. We don't exist in podcast land
See
anymore.
ya. Yeah, we live in real
Real.
life.
we
Totally
have
a
we have
real
broken
boy.
the chains of the podcast land.
Dude, breaking your chains, that's one of the words of the Sith, like, I don't know what they call it. It all
Sith-
links back to Star Wars.
The Sith,
Every time.
I don't know, the Sith
Knight-
Wayfinder,
the-
is that what?
Oh
This
god.
is based off
the
of Fleetwood
Bushido
Mac?
Code.
The Bushido
Is it
Code.
The Bushido Code.
Duh.
It's the Sith equivalent of seppuku.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sudoku. Yeah.
All according to Keikaku.
All according to.
Yeah. You know, I wonder how weird it would be if Ben and I just started, like, talking in Japanese
I don't remember enough.
on this podcast. I remember enough to hold a conversation for about 30 seconds, at which point my
I'm
vocabulary
taking
will run
Japanese
out.
3 next semester, so I should probably figure that out. But
What, are you taking it next semester?
I am.
Wow.
I probably should have told you that.
Yeah, we can talk about that not on the podcast.
All right, we'll throw hands somewhere else.
Throw hands more like I'm just going to drop my other class and take that.
Oh, sick. All right, that works.
Yeah, the equivalent of throwing hands.
All right.
But yeah, so that we played games, right? We played games. We did Mass Effect talk.
We didn't play games. We didn't.
No,
play
we played a
games.
game.
We did.
We
Oh
played
yeah,
a
we
game.
played a
We
game.
played-
Yeah, I remember.
North itself.
That was.
It was
feels
so
like
good that you just remembered it.
Yeah.
You just completely forgot it.
Look, I do
Feels
try to
like an
block
eternity
news
ago.
games from my memory, but they are a requirement of doing podcasts. So,
Right.
unfortunately,
Otherwise, it wouldn't be
Right.
called a podcast, would it? It'd be called
a cast.
a cast. Yeah.
Just a cast, because everyone knows the
Yeah.
pod is the game. The news game
Right,
specifically
right.
that you play on the
Right.
cast.
This is right.
Otherwise, it's just a cast, and we really can't have just a cast in this day and age. I mean, what are you talking about?
Yeah. I mean,
Podcast of characters.
Oh,
Speaking of which, hey Jimmy.
I don't know what just happened.
Carl Weezer just entered.
Carl Weezer
the,
visited us.
just entered the chat.
Carl, do you have
Well-
any French pastries for me?
No, but are you going to finish that croissant?
Croissant.
Croissant?
Look, anytime you invite Carl Weezer to a party, he wants to take your French pastries. I don't.
I mean,
is it
this is.
That means two things.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The show is family friendly. We can't do
Is it?
that.
Or it's not.
No, Carl, don't.
Well, this
Are
is
you
getting.
getting out, Jimbo?
Jesus.
Dude, I moved my mouse and then the controls came up. We broke the fourth wall again. People know this is a recording. Wait a minute. No, it's a live stream. I don't know where I was
It's
going
both.
with that. It's both.
It's both. We're doing both. We're doing it live.
It's being
and we're recording
recorded. It's live. We
F
had
it,
a.
we'll do it live.
You know, I gotta give props to chat. I didn't expect us to actually have a chat for the. You know, pretty much
it.
ever.
What we did.
It's
But we
getting
did.
carried. It is getting carried by this gentleman. Over
Oh yeah,
here.
he's gone now, but that's okay. He
was
carried it
here.
for a little while, so we're good. We have an average viewer count that is higher than any stream I've done, which is of 4 streams. So pretty low sample size, but you know,
I
good
don't even know
viewer
what
choice.
this
counts.
person
Hey,
was talking about
gang.
most of the time.
I got something to talk about.
Let's do it.
What should I stream? What should I play games and stream?
Well, you
What's
know,
a good streaming game?
it's just anything but Counter-Strike, really, or Valorant,
Well,
or League
the
of
thing
Legends.
is, yeah, because Counter Strike is too competitive. Like these days, this day and age, no one's gonna come watch me. Play.
Stream some
Counter-Strike.
PUBG.
Apex has a new season.
I hate Apex Legends so much.
Risk of Rain? Does it have to be?
Oh, I
multi-
have been playing.
Risk of
Roar.
Rain is a good stream game.
Yeah, but like the community for Risk of Rain's pretty small, and Woolly Gaming has the whole entire community.
Well, the way to tell is like if someone, you got to look at the metrics, right? So if someone is streaming a game, you got to know if it's like, are people watching the game because they want to watch the game, or are they watching the streamer because they want to watch the streamer, right? If they're watching
Right.
the game because they want to watch the game, it doesn't matter how many viewers the top streamer has because they're just watching the game, right? They don't care. But if they're watching for the streamer, you're out of luck.
So
Get
where
done.
do I find these metrics?
I don't know.
Is there a bar graph somewhere that's just
Is there a
like,
bar graph? I don't know.
or is it a
Oh.
is it a pie chart?
That's the way I would think about it from the approach of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
game QA.
Right.
You
No,
know?
that makes sense
Speaking of QA, why not stream some Champlain games like Frog Bath?
because I don't have those.
I'm
Well-
not just saying because I worked on it.
Well, get them.
I
You know,
don't
there's
want
this
them.
there's this awesome indie game that I hear is on the up and up. It looks really promising. It's called Oasis.
Sponsor.
Oh, I've heard of that one too. And you know what? I played a little demo of it, and I thought the robot was really neat, and his
Yeah.
teeth were really
I
cool.
I
Yeah.
also think the
Oh,
robot.
props
is
to the
really-
guy who designed that. Just gonna say that.
Wow, both of them are here. Wow.
Yeah.
What really stuck out to me was just the it was so well written.
Also, just so people who are
I
watching the
didn't-
VOD
so
know,
good.
Oasis is a game that 3 of the 4 people in this call are developing.
I didn't like the
Everyone
writing.
but Ben.
I thought there was too many sentences that started with the word the, and I can't have any of that.
Really?
So yeah,
Wait.
I actually don't know. I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't played it.
Because
Is
now
that-
I'm
is
like
that
you can't see me,
legitimate?
but I had a moment. I had a head tilt. And I was like, I'm like going back to remembering. Wait, what the hell? Did
That's
I write?
reminding me. We Ben and I do have something we did that I think is weird.
did
We
that?
played No Man's Sky
Oh,
Oh yeah.
for a
It's
decent chunk
kinda-
of time.
Well, we didn't get anywhere
Well, that's kind
because
of
the
the point,
tutorial's
though.
like
what is
disturbingly long.
the tutorial? The problem I have with it is they force you to do base building before you can leave the system. So, like, what
Yeah,
if you
so
don't
it's
want
like-
your base to be on a crap planet and you only got crap planets in your system, right? You got to leave, but you can't leave until you build a base. So, come on, Sean Murray, fix your game.
I just wish it was a little bit more sandbox. Like I don't care. Like Minecraft dumps you in and it gets the tutorial going, but you can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
That game is like super on rails.
you can't
until
do
you get
anything until you get
past the
the
tutorial.
antimatter, and even
So-
then, like crafting warp fuel is so much of a pain.
Yeah.
So I bought the game when the next update came out, and
Yeah.
they had it like heavily discounted, and that's when I first played it, and they didn't force me to make a base beforehand.
Yeah,
It's
I think
relatively
that
new.
tutorial is pretty new.
Cause like honestly, the beginning and like the tutorial for when I played it was actually great because it's all
Yeah.
in service of getting your ship up and going and
No,
getting
so
out into the
that
stars.
I think is a fine tutorial, and that's what I played when I first did
Yeah,
it. And I
same.
had an old save that I skipped the new tutorial, and I thought that was fine because like base building and stuff is I feel like something you can Google it or just
It's pretty
figure it out on your
self-explanatory
own.
in
Yeah, and it's
general.
pretty
The
easy.
only thing they needed to tell you is that you have to put down a like station to research things, but everything
Yeah,
else is
but-
self-explanatory, right? Like you have your teleporter is there, and then you have a big electrical signal that's like, okay, it needs power. How do I get power? Maybe the generator. It's not that hard.
yeah.
And one
Tutorial
thing
is-
I didn't realize until I started playing the game, it has an awesome soundtrack. My
It's pretty good.
God,
It does.
loud.
The volume
wonderful.
is so all over the place, though. Like
But, like, if
I
you-
had
if
it
you just
low,
look
and
at
it just blasted my ears out.
if you're just listening to it though, like on Spotify, it's beautiful. It's such a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
They
You know
did
what's
such
got a good
job.
soundtrack? Doom 2016,
Mm.
and the new one actually as well. But
Yeah, the
Wow.
heavy metal choir is something else.
Oh, it's
didn't
so cool.
didn't they get mad about like the Nuvo with the new one or something?
Oh god.
Yeah,
okay,
they're removing
so,
it now.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean I don't like care. I haven't played that game in a couple of days, so it's like
I mean, I was gonna go back and do another playthrough, and then I heard about the Denuvo thing, and I didn't want to update because I don't want to have Denuvo on my computer.
Yeah, they're removing it. And also to note, this is Denuvo anti-tamper or anti-cheat, not Denuvo anti-tamper. Anti-tamper is the DRM. Anti-cheat is it's like there was the whole controversy about Riot Vanguard and how it was like a Ring Zero thing.
oh yeah.
Basically, it has access to a lot of things that it doesn't necessarily need to have access to. Although Riot Vanguard has like they put a bunch of stuff out that shows what they're doing with it, and it's a lot more understandable. Denuvo anti-cheat is like that, but without any of the confirmation not doing the shady stuff.
Yeah.
It also made a lot of people's games break, and like people were trying to launch the game and just couldn't launch it.
And you heard about the whole drama with like the soundtrack.
Yeah, the Mick
Yeah.
Gordon drama.
Really
That
interesting.
sucks.
And everyone just assumed that it was a like an id or
Only id or Bethesda's fault.
but it's kind of not though.
It looks
we-
like it's really like both parties had a lot
Yeah.
of mistakes in that.
because like Mick Gordon was missing deadlines and he wasn't getting his music out there. And
It's like
Oh,
the thing
okay.
that's happened is Bethesda set a deadline for the collector's edition to include the soundtrack, which Mick Gordon apparently did not know about
oh, he did.
until so that's why he was upset, is because he was not aware of that deadline, but they made him aware of that deadline a long time in advance, like a very long time, and he said he was okay with it. So yeah, it's like a lot of the stuff that Mick Gordon is mad about, I think he doesn't really have a lot of ground to stand on because of the fact that he was okay with it for a while. And
I-
So
even-
basically, what you're saying is
Yeah.
that he missed the deadline to get them a finalized version. And
But he's also a
that's
contractor.
why
Like
they-
he's not under
Right.
the same type of thing that employees are. So that deadline was unfair to begin with because he didn't know about it and was not consulted until the deadline already existed. But he should have said something when it was a problem instead of
Right.
waiting until really close to the date they needed it to be like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like even then, I think it's at least Bethesda put in the effort to make sure that the songs were included in the soundtrack, even if they're not quite as good as they should have been.
Did they update them?
I don't know, because I think Mick Gordon said he's not going to work with them anymore. So I
Yeah,
don't know if we have any updates on that situation. That's basically how it panned out.
No, I mean
It just
the-
feels
the music.
weird not being able to blame Bethesda for everything.
Because the music in the game is fine. It's just the soundtrack
Yeah.
versions are not finished the way they
well,
should
they're
be.
they're just not mixed and mastered, right?
Yeah, we're just
properly.
basically finishing them. Like,
Yeah.
it's because in the game they use a lot of like they're layered and they have different appearances, so you have to remake, or not remake, but you have to properly align them so that you
Yeah.
have like a full 3-minute song when
Well,
you're doing the
'cause
soundtrack.
The soundtrack versions of each song for I this may have been something else that I was reading up on, but like the soundtrack version of each song when you're actually like playing the game is like they're each like 20 or 30 minutes long, and it's because he has a ton of different versions of it in order to like transition into other music
Yeah.
tracks.
It's
just
because it's all
nuts.
dynamic based on the combat, which
Nuts.
is really, really cool. And like I think nobody can really say that Mick Gordon did a bad job on the game because his music is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And it's utilized pretty much perfectly in the game. It's just like the soundtrack is the issue.
Yeah,
here,
it's literally just like the soundtrack that's got a problem, so it's not.
which is a shame because the music is so good. Like
Right.
people want to see Mick Gordon's work at its best, but like here
It's-
it's just a bad situation all around.
It's honestly the music is one of the few things in Doom Eternal that like universally everyone loves because for at least from my perspective, a lot of the changes that Doom made, there's a lot of people that aren't happy with a lot of the changes they made, but music is like one of the few things that universally
Yeah.
everyone just loves. Even
Yeah.
though I actually love the
Well,
changes
I
that
think-
they made, but that's
I
just
think
me.
it's most of them make sense in the context of making a second Doom game. Like you got to add something
Yeah.
to a game like that. I mean, I guess you don't. You could just make another map pack or whatever, basically. But like
It's a
Doom
missed
2.
opportunity if you just have a sequel that's pretty much the same.
But I do agree. There's a couple of things in there that kind of make it feel not like Doom anymore.
I,
Yeah.
I
I know,
think
It's the
The-
cooldown timers and
degradation.
stuff, basically.
the
What was that,
biggest thing
Alex?
people, yeah.
know what they can do. They can add weapon degradation.
Oh
No
no.
thanks.
It's Breath of the Wild now.
Oh, but what's interesting to me is a lot of people complain about how little ammo you have for all your guns. Honestly, that's my favorite change, to be honest with you.
That's the point of Doom.
Well,
You're
here's the
supposed to
thing:
use all your guns and shoot
but
everybody. And
there is less ammo because like because someone like the math basically is that you have basically half, if not less, as much ammo as you did in the first game. And the reason I like it so much is that as much as I love 2016, as soon as I got the super shotgun, I didn't use any other weapon. Like there were
Yeah.
very few
No,
weapons that I used consistently. And what's great about Eternal is that not only do you have to switch up weapons because you run out of ammo, but every weapon has more of a purpose and it does a much better job at like
Yeah.
targeting specific weak points. So you're using every weapon, which I like a lot more.
in fairness, there are times when I run out of ammo for all of my guns.
Yeah, but then you have a chainsaw. That's the
Yeah, I
point.
know.
Yeah.
I know that's the point. I get it. It's just
I get
that
it.
can be frustrating. Especially if it's
yeah.
like, oh, now I'm fighting a mancubus with just a chainsaw and I'm fucked.
It's all in service. It's all in service of keeping you moving while you're fighting.
You gotta
get
have a
that.
sense of doom in Doom, you know?
Oh, see, then you're like me, and you run out of ammo because you can't hit anything.
Well-
That is definitely part of it.
I can't imagine playing this game with a controller. Like I was
Yeah.
barely able to keep a handle on things with keyboard and mouse because it's so fast. Like it's one of the few games that I've played where it's so intense and fast paced that I had to take breaks just because I was like tired because it was so like visually like it was just so like um relentless at times that I felt tired after one encounter and I had to take a break. It was
Yeah.
insane.
It's great.
Oh yeah.
much fun.
That's a recommendation.
I know.
that's a solid good.
For real though, most of it is just like bigger and more badass than Doom 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the big thing
Save for a
me-
few annoying things, but
the big thing for me, and this is like where people usually have an issue with it, right? Is that people don't like the platforming and they didn't like the cutscenes.
I love
Personally,
it. That's
it
my
didn't
my
bother
jam.
me because my biggest problem with 2016 was that it was arena fight after arena fight and it got really repetitive after a while. At least it felt like that for me. And the cutscenes and the these like short breaks in between were a really great way to like make the pacing a lot better, at least for me. So even though they were kind of obnoxious sometimes and I wasn't a huge fan of them, it helped the flow and the pace of like a level a
Yeah.
lot.
I think there
Yeah.
could have been a few less platforming segments because like there definitely are a couple points in the game where I'm like, Jesus Christ, another one of these stupid bars that I gotta jump on.
Yeah, there are times where it's like, all right, this can be.
But I
over now."
like how they're a little bit more in on the story because they got an interesting thing going with it.
No, I
I like the lore of Doom. The Doom lore
The
is pretty
Doom
cool.
lore. The Doom
Yeah.
Geek lore.
Seriously, it's pretty cool.
and
As long as they don't make it into like a super narrative driven game, I think it's fine.
and unlike Destiny, you don't have to know what's going on in the lore to understand the central
Yeah.
story.
Right.
Well, they also like, just like intentionally don't tell you about stuff. Like I don't know who all these people are. I'm just killing them. That's fine.
There was a comic. A lot of the references in the game were from some Doom comic or something that came
Well,
out.
I don't know.
before
There's
Doom
some pretty
started.
fleshed out lore. Like people, there's like fat lore videos on
Yeah.
on Doom.
And what I love about all the cutscenes is that the cutscenes basically serve to show how badass and feared Doom Guy is. That's their entire purpose.
Yeah,
and I'm
really.
totally fine with that.
Like the
Because-
story is that Doom Guy is mad, so he's going to kill these people, and they
Yeah.
can't stop him. Like,
Doom Guy doesn't like demons
That's
so
enough.
much, so he's
Doom
gonna
guy's
beat the
pissed.
crap out of them.
He's coming.
yeah,
Cool man, too angry to die.
Oh
Right,
Lord,
exactly.
he's coming.
Oh Lord, he's coming, and so am I.
exactly. Like
That's Doom.
it's beautiful.
You're doing God's work in that game. Let me tell you,
God's work.
you're a good Christian boy.
Not
in that
really,
game.
because I think you
Doom
like
Guy,
murder
the
God at
missionary.
some point. Like it's not really God, but it's basically God. Like I don't know.
Yeah, but it's evil God, so it's okay.
Yeah, but like it's
But it's evil
implied
God.
that.
And
But he's
Doomslayer's
God.
mad.
But they're okay.
Don't think too hard. You don't need to think too hard. You're a good Christian
Doom Guy
boy,
doesn't think too
aka
hard,
the
it's fine.
Doomslayer.
Doom's good.
Yeah, actually, one of my favorite. There was an audio log in one of the missions where there's like 3 or 4 of them, and it's someone just studying like Doom Guy's mental state, and she's like, "Oh, like you start the audio logs, and she's like, oh, he's like he's supposed to be some kind of legend, but he's just a human." And then by the end of the audio log, she's like, "This man is like the savior of humanity," and stuff like that. It's such a cool like. Through the course of like 3 or 4 audio logs, she goes from completely skeptical to like, oh my god, this guy's gonna save the human race. It's so
Yeah.
cool. It's so cool.
All right, I think so. We're running overtime as we always do.
Overpass.
Look, I know you
Plans
play
scheduled.
Counter Strike. This isn't Counter Strike though. This is a podcast, and we don't have overpasses in a podcast. In fact, we don't really have
Okay.
overpasses in the real world right now. You can't drive out there. The
Speak for
virus is going to
yourself.
kill your car.
Instantly die. Yeah.
If you go outside, you will implode. Why don't you know this? All right.
Well, the pressure difference.
You have to depressurize to go outside your house.
ends if you open the door.
You have
Yeah.
to get in like a. You have to get
I
in
say
like a
is the
Death
window is
Stranding
open
pod
behind
to
me.
like walk outside, like like the BB's pod.
All right. So I think that's most of our topics concluded for today. I say that as if we have topics planned beforehand. We don't.
We don't.
Plans,
don't.
schedules. Who needs them?
Plans. The
Yeah, I
only
joined
thing
the
we
channel. I was like,
plan
so what's
for-
going on today? And they're like, well,
You'll find it out. You'll figure it out. It's like a grizzled war veteran.
Yeah.
But yeah, also if you don't know, Ben and I are the ones that originally started this shit show of a podcast about a year ago, and
It's
we
like 2
did
years.
Torad. It was almost 2 years. No, it was like a year and a half.
The original Toradora is like hella old, isn't it?
No, it's
I
like a
don't
year
know.
and a half. I
Whatever,
looked
man.
pretty recently because that video has a lot of views.
Really?
It's got like
Really?
70 views.
Oh, we're
That's a
We're
lot
kicking
for
ass,
a
taking
random
names.
video
let's get it.
You're in
of
the
a
double
channel that has
digits.
no subscribers. So
Yeah, whatever.
yeah, that was the original thing. If you want to hear us talk about Toradora,
we didn't even finish it. We didn't even get all the way through it.
you know, maybe we'll do like we'll both
No.
watch it and then do like a finale to cap it off or something.
I'm not doing that.
You've already watched it.
I'll
though. You don't
watch
need to do
something
anything.
else.
You've already watched it. You don't need to watch
Oh,
it
yeah.
again.
Do the
Well, I
Clone
mean,
Wars
I just need
now.
to
We'll
watch
Watched it
do
like
a
2
review
times.
of each episode of the Clone Wars.
I don't want to do that either.
That would be 700 episodes. Not actually. I think there's like 100 episodes of the Clone Wars. It wouldn't be that bad.
I have so much TV to get through. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you gotta catch up to the Clone Wars because we're gonna have that Clone Wars talk. Wyatt, it's gonna be something else.
Oh Lord, it's
All
coming.
right, so
Oh,
just let me
Lottie,
know
it's
when you guys are gonna do that, and I'll leave and not come back.
That'll be a special episode. It'll be the this is officially a Star Wars podcast now episode, and after that we only talk about Star Wars ever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So count me out.
Whereas of right now, this is officially a Star Trek podcast. We only watch Jean-Luc Picard.
Right. I think we were trying to wrap it up.
Yeah, we were trying to wrap it up. We're wrapping
We
it
were
up by saying
trying to
it's a
do
Star Trek podcast. So yeah, this is the end of the show. We don't really do anything at the end except for this one thing we call shout outs. So we do something at the end. I said we don't, we do. This is the other planned part of the podcast. Where we shout out something we did this week. Alex, it's your turn, do it.
Oh boy! All right. Shout out to me doing spring cleaning and finding the first D20 I ever owned from
Nice.
a Hero skateboard game that Ryan knows about.
Yep.
Um,
Heroescape was the
I'm just about to roll 15 on. Okay, that's
slightly
That's not
above
bad.
average, you know?
That's not bad.
Wow.
Solid.
Wow.
We take those.
All right.
That's a
Well
C, you're passing. 75.
done. Good job. Good job. Who's next?
I don't know, pick someone.
Shout out to that absolutely delicious bolognese I made early this week. It's delicious, and I still have a whole ass freezer bag in the freezer.
See, look
Full
at
of that
that.
shit.
This show doesn't need planning because even the new person only had to listen to one person do it and then he was fine.
Yeah.
You know? All right,
Bolognese.
I'll
if you
I'll
want
do
the
next.
recipe, not gonna get it because it's mine.
This is now a cooking show. Yeah, shout out to Maneater. It's a shark RPG. It's pretty
Oh, you
fun.
played the shark. You played the shark game.
I played the shark game. It's fun.
Nice.
I'm probably gonna stream it at some point, but for right now, I've just been playing it in my free time, and it's a lot of fun. It's a little shallow. Get it? Because water. Ha!
Ah,
We
That's funny.
see what you did there. We see what you did
all right,
there.
that's it.
I hated it.
But hey, it's okay. It's water under the bridge. It's okay.
Oh God,
Yeah, get it?
end this quickly.
That's my bit. Is that I explain jokes. That's the.
Um,
oh,
let's see. Shout out to Garrus talking about how bad your dancing was in Mass Effect 3. There's like a reference to it, and
Nice.
it's beautiful.
It's because the shepherd dance is pretty infamous. It's a little like
He's like, I've seen you dancing. No comment.
it's real bad.
It's so good.
All right, that's it. That's the podcast is over. We're done. If you want to watch the podcast live, it's 7 p.m.
Peace.
on Saturdays. Usually, it's not like an
Sorta.
official time, but it's generally when we do it. It's when it's scheduled, so it happens around then. You know, come check out the Twitch channel or watch the YouTube VOD. It's in 2 places. That's it. That's
Nice.
all of it. We don't
See
have
ya.
anything else. Does anyone have anything else?
Later.
Any
No.
grievances to air?
Eh,
We really hate
see,
like.
Star Wars. He said Grievous. It's Star Wars. It's a Star Wars.
Hello there.
Hello there.
All right, that's it. We're done. We're ending. I'm
Alright.
hitting the
See ya.
stop record button now. Bye.
Do it.
Peace.
Do it.